Ukraine and Russia concluded the second day of the US-brokered peace talks in Abu Dhabi on January 24 without reaching any formal agreement, despite growing international hopes for a breakthrough. Official statements released following the talks did not indicate any finalized deal. However, both delegations signaled a willingness to continue dialogue, framing the discussions as an important step toward potential de-escalation. An anonymous diplomatic source cited by Russia's TASS agency said the three-way negotiations had produced some results, though the nature of those outcomes was not immediately disclosed. According to a report by Axios, Ukrainian officials characterized the two-day peace negotiations as positive, suggesting that limited progress had been made in narrowing differences on key agenda items. Meanwhile, CNN reported that US officials described the Abu Dhabi talks as having surpassed expectations, noting an unprecedented level of openness among all three delegations. Sources familiar with the session told CNN that the overall atmosphere in the meeting room was very upbeat, positive, and constructive, marking a tonal shift from previous diplomatic exchanges between the parties. At the core of the discussions were two unresolved issues: the political status of the Donbass region and the continuing strikes on critical energy infrastructure across Ukraine. Following the conclusion of the second day of meetings, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky issued a public statement from the UAE, describing the dialogue as challenging yet essential for building a credible path toward peace. Volodymyr Zelensky said, quote, "Our delegation delivered a report. The meetings in the UAE have concluded. And this was the first format of this kind in quite some time. 2 days of trilateral meetings. A lot was discussed, and it is important that the conversations were constructive. The negotiations also involved military representatives from all three sides. From our side, today's participants included Rustem Umerov, Kyrylo Budanov, Andrii Hnatov, Davyd Arakhamiia, Sergiy Kyslytsya, and Vadym Skibitskyi. From the American side, the participants were Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Dan Driscoll, Alexus Grynkewich, and Josh Gruenbaum. The Russian side was represented by members of their military intelligence and armed forces. The central focus of the discussions was the possible parameters for ending the war. I highly value the understanding of the need for American monitoring and oversight of the process of ending the war and ensuring genuine security. The American side raised the issue of potential formats for formalizing the parameters for ending the war, as well as the security conditions required to achieve this. As a result of the meetings held over these days, all sides agreed to report back in their capitals on each aspect of the negotiations and to coordinate further steps with their leaders. The military representatives identified a list of issues for a potential next meeting. Provided there is readiness to move forward, and Ukraine is ready, further meetings will take place, potentially as early as next week. I expect a personal briefing from the delegation upon its return. I am grateful to the United Arab Emirates, and personally to the President of the Emirates, for their mediation and their readiness to host further meetings. Ukraine is working for peace and security. Thank you to everyone who is helping." Unquote. While the trilateral peace talks continued in Abu Dhabi, Russia's border city of Belgorod came under what local authorities described as a massive aerial assault on January 24, heightening tensions even as diplomacy unfolded abroad. According to the Kyiv Independent, the regional governor called the incident the most massive strike on the city since the beginning of cross-border hostilities, underscoring the attack scale and intensity. Although no casualties were officially reported, Russian defense officials alleged that US-supplied HIMARS rocket systems had been used in the assault, a claim that could not be independently verified. Fires broke out in several areas across Belgorod following the blasts, and preliminary reports indicated that debris from interceptions damaged at least 2 residential homes. The latest attack on Russian territory coincided with a fresh wave of overnight bombardments on Ukraine's major cities, including Kyiv and Kharkiv, signaling another simultaneous escalation on both sides of the conflict. Russian forces launched what officials in Moscow described as a large-scale overnight strike campaign across Ukraine on January 24, targeting energy and urban infrastructure. According to the Kyiv Independent, the attacks killed at least 1 person and injured 4 others in the capital, marking yet another deadly night for residents enduring near-daily missile alerts. Ukraine's Air Force confirmed that Russia deployed both attack drones and missiles in the coordinated assault on Kyiv, overwhelming parts of the country's air defense systems. Municipal authorities reported structural damage in several districts of the capital, including Holosyevsky, Desnyansky, Dniprovsky, and Solomyansky, where emergency services worked through the night to contain fires and restore utilities. Parts of Kyiv were temporarily left without heating and running water following the strikes, as repair teams rushed to stabilize the city's already strained infrastructure during sub-freezing temperatures. In the northeastern city of Kharkiv, the Kyiv Independent reported that at least 14 people were injured after multiple waves of drone and missile strikes hit residential and public buildings. Kharkiv's mayor later confirmed that the attacks damaged a dormitory housing, displaced citizens, and struck 2 hospitals, causing extensive destruction and further overwhelming emergency responders on site.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelenskyy.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.